Hey everyone, I'm Taylor.
And I'm Cassidy, and this is Growing with the Griffins. Today we're talking about comfrey.
Cassidy, what is Comfrey?
I'm so glad you asked. So first of all, comfrey is a dynamic accumulator. So it accesses nutrients deep down in the soil and makes it available to the surrounding plants nearby, and makes it available to plants nearby through root exudates, as well as through the leaves above the soil. It brings pollinators like bees, ladybugs, and butterflies to your garden to pollinate your plants. Comfrey is also a biomass producer. This means that it grows quickly and can be used in a multitude of ways throughout your garden. And lastly, it is highly resilient. This means that it's drought tolerant. Its roots can also survive in very poor soil. It grows back quickly after it's been cut.
Before we go any further, we just want to let you know a couple warnings when it comes to Comfrey. First one is that there are two main types of Comfrey. The first one is common Comfrey or true Comfrey, and this one creates seeds and self-seeds, and that's how it perennializes. The second type of Comfrey is called Russian Comfrey or Bachine 14, and this one you can propagate through the root systems and it doesn't self-seed. This is the one we recommend for that reason. It's a bit easier to control. The second warning is actually related to that, and that is that once you plant Comfrey, it's very hard to remove because it can grow from even a tiny root fragment. So if you try and dig it out and you leave the tiniest little bit, it will eventually regrow a plant. And Comfrey can stay dormant in soil that's been covered for years. So you have to really thoroughly cover it with plastic if you really want to get it completely out. However, Comfrey is such a beneficial plant that we doubt that you'll have too much of it in your garden.
How do you grow comfrey? Well, the first way is that you can buy a plant and then you can plant it. Pretty easy. The second way is you can propagate comfrey very easily from the root system. Comfrey might be one of the easiest plants to mass propagate out of all the plants. So here's how to propagate this plant. Since you will see later, you will want to have a lot of these plants in your garden. The cool thing about comfrey is that it can grow from the splinter of a root. Take a comfrey plant, shake off the dirt, cut up all the roots, cut the roots into small pieces, and plant them. The smaller roots will take longer to produce a plant. You're looking at 2 years for a full plant, and a larger root is about a year before it produces a large plant. A faster way to propagate comfrey is to use the crowns. So a crown is the top of the plant. That's like the top of the root system, and it's where the leaves come from. And one comfrey plant can have multiple crowns. So it's wherever the root system is near the surface of the soil and it's sprouted and leaves are coming up. So you could have anywhere from like 2 to 7 crowns per plant. You can cut those up and plant them. Just make sure that the little leaf or sprouted section is above the soil, and it will grow into a plant. You'll have a large plant that season.
Okay, now on to what do you do with Comfrey, or why should you grow it in your garden? Comfrey is the ultimate chop and drop plant. So you plant it near your perennials or even your annuals, and you cut down the leaves, and then you drop them next to your other plants, and it creates a really nutrient-rich mulch for the plants that you drop it nearby. Another just highly functional use for comfrey is as livestock feed, also called fodder. We have fed it to our chickens in the past and they love it. They intuitively eat it up and prefer it a lot of the time over their actual feed. As we mentioned before, comfrey is also an excellent pollinator attractor. So it's really beneficial to have in your garden for those purposes. And finally, comfrey has been noted as a plant with remarkable medicinal properties for thousands of years. Of course, take none of this as legitimate medical advice, but people claim that they've, can create a poultice from comfrey leaves. They can put it on their skin and it will actually heal broken bones quicker. So do your own research when it comes to your usage, but it is a fairly powerful plant. Another major way that we use Comfrey is as a compost activator. If you're making hot compost or thermophilic compost, where you're trying to get the compost to raise to a certain temperature, you can put Comfrey in, and it's very high in nitrogen, and it will help to heat up your compost to the temperatures that you really want it to, so that it'll kill off weed seeds and other pathogens. And the final way that we recommend using Comfrey is to make fertilizers or teas. And there's two types. You can make an anaerobic Comfrey tea. This one is very simple. You literally just put comfrey leaves in a bucket with water and let it sit for a week or a month, or really as long as you want. Fair warning on this, it gets really stinky. So make sure that you use gloves when you handle the fertilizer that it makes, because it won't come off your skin very easily. But it's really healthy for your plants. Just make sure that you dilute it thoroughly, 10-to-1 water to comfrey tea, or even greater dilution. You can also make an aerated compost tea, and this usually includes using compost or worm castings, and you put it in a bucket with a bubbler that keeps it aerated as it's brewing. And we'll have videos in the future on both of these. One last tip, a really important thing when you're handling especially mature comfrey plants, is to use gloves, because they're the leaves, on the back of the leaves, they contain these small barbs. And so it can kind of irritate your skin, especially if you have easily irritated skin. You'll just really want to make sure that you use gloves, especially if you're tearing it up or carrying it around. Just be careful with it.
We'll have more videos on Comfrey in the future, so look for those. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and a subscribe.